All right, it says we are live. Let's see if this is working. For all of you guys just joining right now, YouTube was down. I was hoping to do this at 7 o'clock, but if you guys don't mind, just drop in the chat. Let me know if this is working, if you guys can see everything. I think we are good though. So welcome back to Stock Tricks with Nick for the midweek movers. All right, here we go. If you're new to the channel, we do these live streams typically on Tuesday and Friday. With the market being super shaky, we wanted to give Tuesday the day off just so a couple stocks could set up and we could actually have a list to go over. Today, we got that, got a lot of moves higher. Stocks are setting up, so we have a list to go through. If this is your first time, please follow me on StockTwits and Twitter. That's Stock Tricks with Nick on StockTwits and Stock Trick Nick on Twitter. So today we'll go over really quickly the vaccine news that came out on Monday, how we're dipping our toes back into the market that has been so shaky lately, going over TCON's strong volatility contraction pattern, VCP's takeoff, the current positions I'm holding, and my watch list for the rest of the week. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave a like, and if you're watching this outside of the stream, leave a comment. Helps me out tremendously, and subscribe so you don't miss out on more. All right, little disclaimer, anything that we talk about today is just educational purposes, my own opinion. Always do your own due diligence. Trading is risky. Always have a risk plan. Here's the stock lineup that we got for tonight. Not sure if we're going to be able to get through everything, but we'll go over my current holdings, the stocks requested by you guys from StockTwits or Twitter. So whenever we do these live streams, you can reach out, and you can do so in the chat right now. If you want to go over a stock, just use the chat and we'll cover those. And then the stocks on my watch list. And yeah, so going back to the vaccine, we found out some pretty important news on Monday with Pfizer saying that their vaccine is in stage 3, 90% effective so far. And that caused all of the stay-at-home stocks and all the stocks that were growth stocks since, March, to drastically pull down. While Boeing, Carnival, American Airlines, all the travel, and basically all the stocks that were beaten down and stayed down, those jumped up on Monday. So even though I wasn't fully invested going into the week, thankfully, I did take quite the beating on Monday. A lot of the growth stocks got hit, got stopped out on all of my almost all my positions, took the rest off, and just let Tuesday kind of set up. And I did take a couple trades today. So if you're trading the growth stocks, if you're trading with good risk management, you hate this choppy movement. It's death by 1,000 cuts, right? So what we want to be doing is progressive exposure. We want to find those quality setups, get in small position sizes, just feel out the market until we can get a strong trend. Once we have a strong trend, then it's time to hit the pedal to the metal, where we can get aggressive with our positions. Maybe we can even use some margin leverage to really press when we're winning. But right now, it's one step up, two steps back, two steps up, one step back. There's no clear direction. So we don't want to be heavily invested. We just want to slowly add on exposure as the market pulls higher. So with that, let's jump to TCON. If you guys followed the stream earlier, this is one that we had talked about because this is basically the ideal volatility contraction pattern, VCP, that Mark Minervini talks about. You get a really strong move higher here. Oh wait, let me set this up. All right. Let me just run through the screen that we got here. So we have 200-day simple moving average, yellow, 50-day simple moving average, red, 20-day simple moving average, green, 8-day exponential moving average, purple, and then we got relative strength compared to QQQ, and volume in here. And we also have volume at the Sorry, my camera's being weird. Volume at the different prices off to the right that I just added last week. So we'll see how that holds up. All right, so TCON, really strong move higher. This was a 250% move in just a short amount of time, maybe 3 weeks or so. But we're not buying in an extended move. We're waiting, being patient. First pullback is 35%, held the 20-day simple moving average, moved a little bit higher, wiggled around, and then had a second pullback from the high point here to the low point down here. That's 27%. So first one was 35, now 27. It's getting a little bit tighter. And then you have a really small third one here with this guy's high at 510 to the low basically of the next day, had the low, and that's only 12%. So you had you had 35%, 27%, then 12%. Tighter contractions of volatility. Volume, let me hide the big candle there. Look at how quiet this volume's getting. Basically, no volume. Everyone's forgotten about the stock. It was a winner. People have taken profits. The sellers are done selling. Basically, everyone that's in the stock wants to be in the stock at this price at this point because you're not seeing any exchange of stocks. So this was on my watch list. Earnings was coming up, so I knew that I had to be in and out of this trade if the stock wasn't going to give me good profits right away. So I bought on a break over 510, sold some into strength on this green day. As you see, we had volume come in. And then unfortunately, I put my stop right at my entry because, again, I was trying to progressively expose myself to the market. And it pulled back, hit my stop loss at my entry point. Once the stock made a move over 8%, I didn't want to give it back for a loss. So fortunately, took the stop right there. And then going into the earnings, it shook around a little bit. In normal market time, let's see, 510 would have closed right at 9%. Maybe I would have had a few shares on, but what I could have done, but I was not watching the stock today, was use a break over either of these previous day's highs to get in. But you see just massive volume coming through here after it did the volatility contraction pattern. So 3 pullbacks, less magnitude each time. Volume got lighter and lighter and lighter until the initial breakout. Then some sideways action on earnings, and then the rest came in today. So if you're in this stock right now, you probably took a little bit of profit on the way up, but no reason to sell your entire position at this point. Let's see if this moves sideways or even higher going into tomorrow. So that was TCON. I do not own that. Had owned that, but have to listen to my risk controls there. So let's jump to a couple stocks that I do own. CRSR. So this guy, IPO, moved up, let's see, 51%, then pulled back 19%, got quiet, did not buy this breakout through here, but bought this today with a break over the high here. Got in a little bit later on that. Let's see, what was my buy point? And this is one of the ones that LYFT put on his watch list, and I think his buy list as well. If you guys don't follow him on Twitter, he's a great one to follow, LYFT Serede. Let's see. So yeah, just bought this through the break over this high, and it has held that breakout so far. So again, not a large position size. I'm just trying to test out this market. Let's see what else. RH. This is one that I called out on StockTwits. Had been watching this one for a while now, where this broke out on earnings. I Wanted to see if it would undercut some previous lows. We did get that undercut here. So you see, if I just draw that through the lows, this guy undercut this, so all the stops were probably shaken out at that point. And then right as it did that, violent move higher, 20% to recapture some of the moving averages. And then, let me zoom in a little bit. Basically, the move today was you had 3 high points right along the side there. So when it went over that point, I took a position, and again, not a large one, 5% of my portfolio. But really liked the way this moved, closed at the high of the day, right at the upper Bollinger Band, and those were contracted here, so maybe we get a little bit of run. So plus 8% today, up a little bit after hours. We'll see how that holds up. That's RH. TWST is my last position. So you can see I don't have too many trades on. I'm only 13% net long at this point. Definitely not swinging for any home runs, just trying to test out this market. With this one, you had a 53% move to the highs here and then pulled back 26%. So within that 40% that I like to watch. So not too much overhead here. Found support at the 50-day simple moving average, moved up and created right to the top of the cup there. Had a little pullback to create the handle, and then I bought with the break over the high of November 9th. So that was 191. I got filled at 101.01, and now we're above previous highs. So that's TWST, very thinly traded, so not trying to do too much there. Have maybe 4% position size on that. But those are the 3 stocks that I am holding right now. Let's get to a couple that you guys wanted to see. BIDU. Let's zoom out here. So we're over the 200-day simple moving average. That's a hard filter for me. That's starting to get into an uptrend. That's what I like to see. Since this recent move, let's see, moved up only 11%. So hasn't really gotten too far extended. Pulled back to the 8-day, 5% pullback. Let's see, when's earnings? The 16th. Yeah, so this is going to be too close to take before earnings. I don't think I'll get 10% profit on the position before then, but if you got in around here and you have 8%, you could have a stop loss under the low from today, and let's see, low under today, and maybe, man, the rest is, that's only 3%. This is way tighter of a trade than I'm thinking. So yeah, you could have, let's see, that's only 2%. Maybe you have some of your stop under the low of the day, some of it at the 20-day simple moving average, but it's going to be tough to get 10% profit going into earnings there. But that's BIDU. You guys wanted to see FUBO. Yeah, this guy, lots of volume coming in. I know, what was the story on this? They just got a new contract, something like that. You don't like to see this candle. This is not a strong candle. All the volume today was in the selling. So there's no point in this candle where you buy. You're trying to buy as it's breaking out, pushing higher. So definitely need to give this a little bit to set up. Hopefully, if you were in the stock before earnings, maybe if you got in at this like little pullback and breakout here, let's just call it that. You had your 20% going into earnings, so you could have held some into earnings, and then hopefully you sold some right at the open or as it was pulling back down here into some strength. You can still have some size on, but you have to have a stop loss set in case this keeps on selling off. This move from the open, let's see, what was this? down 20% throughout the day. That's tough. For me on the outside, I'll definitely need this to kind of flag out, give it a week or so to set up before buying again. But must have had some type of good news because it did gap up so high. Let's see. JD, this is one that we've talked about a lot on this stream. They have earnings. Let's see, on the 16th again. Let me just hide all the trade flags. So this one with the election results moved higher as all the Chinese stocks did. Let's see, what was it up? It was up 12%. It formed a really nice cup and handle through here. If we zoom out, it becomes a little bit more clear. But I wasn't chasing the stock through here, not because I knew that something like this was going to happen, just because I'm not chasing. I never chase. So right now this found some support at the 50-day simple moving average, but it'll need to move higher and then pull lower to create a pivot point for me to buy. I'm not just going to buy with it breaking over the 8-day or the 20-day. Especially going into earnings, it's going to be tough to get a position on with this. If you're already in the stock, you could use some of the previous lows. Probably this guy's previous low at 78.18. That would be well under the 50-day. But yeah, unless you bought at the previous earnings, it's going to be hard to have that 10% profit going into earnings to hold. There's JD MAXR, one that I've traded before, but really did not act as I was expecting. So we got stopped out almost immediately through here. This was setting up right at the 8-day, and then on this red candle, I got stopped out of the rest of my trade. You could see it pulled down and then did a little bounce back up. Going into earnings, it closed over the 20-day simple moving average, but that was probably earnings hype. Next day, it opened right below the 50-day, tried to press up above that, could not, and then sold off the rest of the day. Has had a minor bounce through here, but will really need some time to set up, get over this volume shelf before I would put any position on. Especially while the market's this shaky, I want to have as many things going in my favor in a trade before I take it. Even when that happens, I'll be trading light. So MAXR there. Let's go Microsoft MSFT. Same story. The sideways action is just no good for swing trading unless you're buying bounces, and that can be really dangerous as well. I don't know why you would be buying into the election. That's a lot of volatility. Maybe you knew something I didn't, but for me, sitting on the sidelines, that was fine. I'm fine with missing out on this because typically when stocks extend that quickly, they're going to pull back, and that's what we got. Now, you're not predicting that the vaccine's coming out the Monday after the election was called. But that's what happened. So we just have to roll with what the market's giving us. Today we had higher highs, higher lows, recaptured some of the moving averages at the close there. But we'll need to see this kind of play out before buying. It's a sloppy chart. You're not going to get a very clean entry on this one. It's Microsoft. Netflix, stay-at-home stock, got rocked on Monday, has had 2 days moving higher, closed right at the 8-day exponential moving average, but you do have a volume shelf right where it's at right now, so could see some difficulty trying to get over that, trying to get over the 20 and the 50-day simple moving average. But if you're looking for a buy pivot point, the high point right here, that's 518.73, then you're clear of this volume shelf, you're clear of the moving averages, and that shows you that the stock is strong and the market's turning around there. So that would be my buy point if I wanted to get into Netflix. But realistically, Netflix is not showing good relative strength, hasn't in a while. You can see that's downward relative strength, volumes all over the place. We're looking for clean setups to take. Netflix is not that. Doesn't mean you can't make money on Netflix. There's 1,000 ways to make money in the market, but I'm just trying to put all the probability as I can on my side before taking a trade. And finally, we have NEO, which just keeps running, right? We've covered this so many times. Good tennis ball action where it breaks out, pulls back, bounces. Instead of breaking out, pulls back and splats like an egg. So that's a Mark Minervini reference. Breaks out heavy volume, pulls back light volume, good volatility contraction patterns all throughout this chart. At this point, this was a 62%, 60% move. You're not buying into any of these overextended candles. Pulled back, found some support at the 8-day exponential moving average so far, but again, not giving you a clean buy entry at all. Has earnings coming up on the 17th. So you could definitely have some position still on, but you're not going to be buying into this stock. You're not putting more size on going into earnings. Already overextended this way. So what I would love to see is where earnings is fine. It kind of moves flat, maybe pulls back down, resets as it's done in the past. Every single time here, it creates a base. I think NEO is one of the cleanest base to breakouts that I've ever seen. So that's what I'm hoping for here. Maybe it keeps running without me. That's fine. You can't trade every stock. I did trade this really clean breakout. Got 30 or so % on the trade. So happy with that. We'll see how it goes from here. All right, let's get into some of the stocks that I'm watching for. First, we have Apple. So we have a couple things setting up here. So just drawing resistance diagonally from some previous highs. You can see we broke over that and we've closed basically at or over it every time since we broke out. Now just taking that away for a second, you have the 8-day exponential moving average, you have the 50-day, you have the 20-day all below the lows here, and you see the 8-day provided support right at the low today. You also have this volume shelf, so a ton of support under the price right now. So that's exactly what you want to see for downside risk. Your downside risk is very limited here, and you know if you break under this low, then you got to get out of the trade for now. So it gives you that alarm that you're wrong right away with a lot of support there. But what I'm looking for to buy is if we break out over the previous high here, that's your pivot buy point at 121.99. So buy stop at 122. You're over that volume shelf there. You got one more to clear like through here. So need a 3% move to clear that. And then it's back to all-time highs. That'd be about a 13% move. So Tim, if there's anything that I'm saying that doesn't make sense, ask away in the comments and I'll try and get to everything. This is definitely an educational live stream. Let's see. That's AAPL. Let's go AMRC. Again, we're trying to trade strong stocks that are getting stronger. So this guy ran 54% in about a month, pulled back from the highs, let's see, 21%. So pretty shallow pullback. That's what you like to see. Had some earnings, so that just kind of screwed up the chart there. That's why you see all this big volume coming in. But lately had a little breakout, pulled back to the 8-day exponential moving average, had higher highs today. So what I'm looking at for a buy point is over the previous high at this point, and that's 45.53. And then ideally we break that out as volume picks up, because like we saw in NEO's chart, as the stock pulls back, as the short-term sellers get out of a trade after they have some profit, you want the retail traders to be getting out. You don't want you don't want the institutional investors getting out of the trade. That's when you know it's time to get out. So when volume's low on the pullbacks, you know it's just retail money, people taking small portions of profit, but the main institutional investors are still in. So what I want to see is a break over this high, and then institutions come in and buy this up. So we'll see if that happens, but this is AMRC in a very strong uptrend. You can see the 200 days in an uptrend as well. You got everything going for you. Let's see if we break over that high and hold. Let's go ANAB. This guy from the earnings jumped up a little over 100%. So that's exactly what we like to see. A really strong breakout, and then it went very quiet. So from the high to the low so far has only been 10%. So not a lot of sellers. People aren't quick to take their profits here. Volume has been relatively flat. Not as flat as you'd like as it dries up, but what I really like about this chart is today's low undercut the previous lows of the last 3 days. So anyone who had stop losses just under previous day's lows got stopped out with the move. So everyone that's in it is either new traders that got in today or people that are holding with conviction. And so what I'm looking for is a break over the previous high here. That would clear this volume shelf, and there's much less resistance above this. So this guy is 31.29, so 31.30 would be my buy point there if I take the trade. A lot of the stocks that I'm showing today, just because I'm laying out buy points, I'm just mentally kind of mapping out where I want to take the trade. So I'm prepared for tomorrow, Friday, the next week. I might not take all these trades. Well, I definitely won't take all the trades. But a lot of these, I just want to watch to see if they break out and hold their breakouts. Kind of a temperature check for growth stocks, because all the growth stocks that we saw got hit really hard on Monday. So we got to reset. We got to see some breakouts hold before we get aggressive with our position sizing or with the number of positions that we're taking. That's ANAB. Let's jump CTIC. Traded this once before, but this had a move of 262%. Not sure what the news was on that, but sideways action. Let's see, what was the strongest pull down from that? Was 17-ish%. Had another undercut of some previous lows just recently, the last 2 days with earnings. Earnings is over now. You saw the low of the day right at the 8-day and 20-day simple moving average there. You could use the high on November 9th as your buy point, but you have two highs here at 360 that I would be using as my buy point. So we clear that. We're over the volume shelf. No more resistance. Let's see if this takes off. But here's the volume that you like to see. Tons of buying volume through there, and then hiding that so you could see nothing. Very, very quiet through here. So this is CTIC. Let's jump to SPT. I'm going to be crossing out some of these as I go through them. So this guy, zooming out so you get the full picture, really strong move. Let's see, from April up 280%, so right around 300%. Really strong move lately. And let's see, what was this pullback? I think it was only like 25%. No, 18%, even better. So 18% pullback, had the little breakout with the election news, but on very low volume. So not really one to trust that portion. This had earnings, right? Yeah, had earnings. And so far has floated higher after that sell-off, and did so on heavier volume. So, excuse me. Like to see that. Today's had higher high, higher lows, recaptured the 8 and 20-day moving averages. And you have three highs right through here. That would be my pivot buy point. So let's see, what's the highest of these? 49.72, 49.77, 50. Let's just call it 50. Break over 50, and that would be my buy point for this one. This is SPT, really strong 300%-ish move from April. You can see relative strength while the market's been trading sideways. This has been just going up and up. 18% pullback, not violating any pullback rules, not very much volume or overhead at this stock at all. So really one I'm watching tomorrow. Let's go NVTA. So this guy, let's see, what is this breakout? 226%. And then from the highs to the low, this might be a little bit more. So 30%, 31% on that pullback. I need to add, it's really hard for you guys to see this 31%. Next stream, I'll have this blown up, kind of how I have the ticker, so you guys can see what I'm seeing. If you guys ever have any comments on how to improve the stream, please leave them in the comments. I read through everything after the stream, so I want to make this as good of an experience for you guys as possible. So really appreciate any feedback. What was I saying? So that was a 30%, 31% move. Has moved higher, then pulled back. Another undercut of some previous lows with yesterday's pullback. And then let's see, did we get over that pivot buy? So that's 48.14. This guy's high is 48.44. So no, 48.44 would be my theoretical buy point right through here. Because you get over that, look at this, the volume shelf at this point, much lighter through here, not a lot of overhead. Does the overhead make sense to you guys? Basically what I mean by that is you don't have a lot of traders that bought at the highs here that are trapped when the stock pulled down. So when you see a stock that pulled down like 60% or so, you have a lot of people that didn't have strict risk controls on that are now stuck just waiting to be able to get out at their break even. So emotionally they could say, see, I wasn't wrong about that. With me, I want to say that I'm wrong right away. So the quicker I can say, oh, Nick, you're wrong, the better, because that's less money that I have in the market at risk for even more of a pull down. So this is NVTA. That's my setup. This guy's going to be a little bit interesting tomorrow. This is FTHM. This is a IPO that had earnings after hours today. Must have gone well, 11.5% higher. But what we were seeing here, let's see, this moved up 60-ish%, pulled back 30%, so we're not violating that pullback rule of 40%. Undercut all the previous lows through here with this red candle day right here. This guy right here, that undercut the previous lows. We like to see that, and of course, took off 20% through there. But going into earnings, it would have been hard to buy this, especially with so much uncertainty in the market. But what I'm looking for is if earnings holds up tomorrow and starts out under this high point. So let's see, this high is 22.88. If it can open under that, it's over it right now, but if we can open under 22.38 and then push through that, that would be a buy point. Otherwise, you have the all-time high so far of 24.84 as the second buy point. So we'll see how that works out. If we can get this first one, I might take the trade. The second one, I'll probably give it a day or so to wiggle around, set up another pivot buy. So let's get to some of the comments. YETI, YT. Yeah, so this one had earnings. That's this large green candle. Then you had your strong sell-off with the vaccine news. And then we've recaptured the 8-day today. Really sloppy chart. It's all over the place. When we're trying to put the best trades that we put on are the best risk rewards. And when the stock's all over the place like this, it's really tough to define your stop losses and kind of your target entry points. So not one that I'm going to be trading. I'll let this, maybe it pulls back and kind of sets this as the pivot buy point, like that high today as the pivot buy point. But if it just keeps going up, hard to take this trade if you're not already in it. On the downside, you do have that volume shelf through here for support, along with the 20-day simple moving average. Under that, and then you're under the 50-day, and you definitely should be stopped out if you're swing trading this. That's YETI. Let's see, REGI. Ooh, really interesting. Yeah, so strong move through here, up 175%. Lower lows, but let's see. That was only 18%. Let's, shoot, nope. Let me do this. 26% even with this undercut. I really like that. Again, I love those undercuts of the previous lows when I'm not personally in the stock. If I'm already in the stock, that sucks. You get stopped out. But you're always protecting your capital first. The money that you save is just as important, if not more important, than the money that you make in a trade. So you have to adhere to your stop losses, but really like this undercut of the previous lows, gets all the stops out here, and then it just rips into earnings. And zooming in here. So this might be a potential buy. I didn't buy this today, but a break over this high again. Actually, just, let's see. Yeah, so you can buy with a break over today's high or over the overall high of 65.65. That might be a cleaner entry point. Ideally, you would get a couple of days of pulling back. So when you do make that move, it's not, when you do make that move, it's not already on a kind of overextended move. It's more concise and then breaking out with power. But a lot of volume coming in just with the earnings. So it's not that really tight, really quiet setup that we like to see. But still one to keep an eye on. So good call out. NVIDIA, NVDA, did try this trade earlier and got stopped out. So I bought basically right at the top of this candle as we broke over the previous high, thinking we would press into new highs, and then got stopped out at a 4%, 5% loss or so. And then you saw a continuation downward, so glad I listen to my stop loss rules. Today we got an inside candle. So far on lighter volume, this doesn't count after hours volume. Got earnings coming up too, the 18th. Yeah, this is, I mean, unless you have profits from even like before September, it might be hard to get a 10% profit going into earnings. So not one that I'll be looking at trading, but definitely one to watch after earnings to see how that reacts. Let's go AMD. Come on. AMD, good support right there. That's not a perfect drawing. I think it did undercut those previous lows, which is actually ideal. I thought that it was going to press lower and then fill some of these gaps. The fact that it popped up shows that, shows that it does not want to go lower, shows some support there. But really just kind of creating a long-term base here. So really creating like a long-term base. Let's see, this is August to now, so that's 3 months. Let's see how this reacts, but if we could get over these highs, then you're over this volume shelf and it could take off. But we'll definitely wait for some confirmation to go higher before buying. So, so for the entry point on REGI is right now. What do you want to wait for? I want to wait for confirmation that it's going to go higher. So I'm not buying on a pullback. I'm buying on the breakout because I'm always trying to keep my money out of the market as much as I can, because when your money's in the market, it's at risk. So when it's in, you could lose money. The second I want to put my money in, I want the stock to take off right away. So I'm not buying into a downtrend because you have no idea how long it's going to be in a downtrend. And as a swing trader, I'm only trying to risk my capital when the stock's already moving higher. And that's what it is doing. Let's go back to REGI really quick. That's what it is doing. It's moving higher, and you could have bought kind of over the break of the high here. I didn't, so now I have to be patient and break over some previous highs to clear everything else. But you're right, is if you bought on the break over like the highs through here, let's see, what is that? 58.07, that would have been a really clean entry point. I did not, so now I'm waiting until we get a break over one of these guys' highs. All right, let's jump through. What else did you guys want to see? Ford. If you guys are enjoying the content, please leave a like. Helps me out tremendously with the YouTube algorithm. And subscribe, because typically we do this on Tuesdays. We gave it a day to kind of shake out. So typically do live streams on Tuesday and Fridays. Yeah, so Ford, back over its 200-day simple moving average. But zooming out, when we talk about overhead, this has a ton of overhead to work through, especially coming up to here. There's 4% move higher till we get to these two large volume shelves that all the people that got in here, a lot of them are going to be happy to be selling at their break-even point, so they're not wrong on the trade. So you could see some selling through this point. So not a stock that I would trade. Is there a way to make money on it? Absolutely. You saw a strong move from the lows. But I'm trying to trade strong stocks getting stronger, not weak stocks recovering. But kind of zooming in here to give a shorter term, you did see a break over this little cup here. Might need a couple days to pull back before setting up again. It's good to see these stocks coming back. Don't get me wrong, especially for long-term investors. Like, I don't want anyone in a stock that's losing money. But my focus as a swing trader is strong stocks getting stronger after a pullback on light volume. That's the bread and butter. GE is the same thing. It's going to have a ton of overhead, really hard to work through. But we did get good vaccine news, so maybe this turns everything around. But just zooming out, look at how much it has to work through to get back to some of the previous highs. And just not a future-looking stock, so not something that I want to be trading. MRNA, I think they just had news, so don't want to comment too much on this, but from a technical only perspective on MRNA, let's see, this pullback was 43%, so that does violate my 40% rule. So personally, I'm not going to trade it, but you get a second pullback here, a little bit lighter. So maybe this is a really loose volatility contraction pattern setting up, but this is going to be so much news driven that it's tough to trade on a technical basis. And with news, things are going back and forth. There's so much news now, it's impossible, I would say. I wouldn't say impossible. It's very, very difficult to trade news. That's why I stick to just price and volume, and I try and stay away from the news-driven stocks. But looks like we closed over some previous highs above the upper Bollinger Band on increased buying volume. So from a technical perspective, this is what we like to see on an extension higher. So if you're in the stock, it's a good setup, but not something that I would trade. Let's see, anything else that you guys wanted to see? Otherwise, I got some others. Lyft and Square. So yeah, Lyft and Uber both had two good news for their company. They had the Prop 22 pass in California. Then they had the vaccine news come out on Monday. So they've been ripping up 70-ish% from the lows. We'll see how this shakes out, but we're now just over the 200-day, and really not even over like this post virus high. That's why if we're looking at stocks, I always like to look at the stocks with the most relative strength. So Uber compared to Lyft, Uber's well over its first jump off the lows here, where Lyft is still under this high, and we're over the February's high now for Uber. So that's why you always want to be buying strong. If you could pick out of a basket of stocks that are basically the same, you always want to be buying the strongest stock. That's always going to be, not always, but that's what I focus on. Because typically as the water levels rise, the ones that are already holding up stronger during the downtrends are the ones that move higher. Yes, I did cover FUBO. After the stream, I link all the stocks that I talk about in the comments. So we'll just jump to that once I wrap up here. So let's see, any other stocks? Square. Another one kind of similar to NVDA, where it's kind of all over the place. I would like a pullback to where this would be my buy point. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait till a break over these highs as a clean entry. And even if it does that all the way through, that's going to be a 15% extension move to get there. So unless you're getting very aggressive with just a buy over today's high going into tomorrow, which with all the uncertainty in the market, it's not really time to take those types of risks. My perspective, maybe it works, but I would be a little bit more patient with this. Let's see if it goes up to the top here, pulls back, and then slingshots open. All right. Yes, CSIQ, did I talk about that? Yeah, I already covered that one. Right? I covered CSIQ on the stream already. Let's jump to EXAS, and I have 3 others to talk about, and then we'll wrap it up there unless you guys see something else you want. But this one, I think I covered last week. It's still being patient with it. Moved up 88%, 90% from the lows here. And you see breakout on volume, pull back or sideways movement, everything got quiet. Breakout on heavy volume, pull back, got quiet. So really, basically the exact setup that I like to trade. Want to get over the high of this point as my buy. So that would be 128.46. By breaking out over that, you also break over these 2 volume shelves. And hopefully you're doing this with volume. Look at how light the volume's gotten. Everyone forgot about this stock, except for me and everyone who's watching the stream now. So I'll have my stop buy order to trigger if we break over this high. That's EXAS. Was EXPI the one that I wanted to talk about? Let's see, what is this down? So 34, 35%. Getting a little bit deep for me. This could be a head and shoulders pattern if we dump under this volume shelf here. So definitely not buying anywhere in this area. Because if we break this, then it can really pull down. Not much volume support through here to get through. What I would be looking for is a break over the high from the earnings. So this is 51.40, so break over that, and then you have much lighter overhead through here. And zooming out, I think that is its all-time high EXPI. Yeah. So very, very light overhead through here if we break over this earnings high. So that's what I'll be watching for EXPI. MCRB. This guy broke out 500%. So really a really strong breakout. Let's hide the one candle so we get normal kind of volume or relative volume. Where are you? There we go. What I'm looking for on this is a clean break over the two highs here. I do like the pullback, a little bit lighter volume since the breakout here. You see the 50-day moving average for volumes just starting to calm down a little bit. So people are forgetting about this stock. It moved over 3 months ago. So as people forget about it, I want to put it on the top of my watch list because that's typically when the strongest moves happen, when people completely forget. So we got a little hint of strength here. Let's see, did that break over? This high was 35.02. Yeah, so we did break over previous highs. So now $36. The high from November 6th is going to be my buy point on that guy. And really strong move through here. Has held that move, has gone higher. So good strength in this stock. It's gone really, really quiet. Not a lot of people looking at this. So that's MCRB. And then we will wrap this up with TCS, unless we get something in the comments. We did get a couple. So TCS, move all the way up 183% to the peak here, pulled down 30%, so not breaking that 40% violation. Found support right at the volume shelf here, the other pullback day. It needs to get over, I would say the high from, or the open price from this day, which would be 1075. But really strong breakout. Volume's getting a little bit quieter. Had a head fake through here. I thought earnings was one of these days, but maybe I'm wrong. So looking at some of these previous highs as a buy point. All right. Let's see. I'm just going to run through these really quick. If they don't meet my standard, I will just kind of skip them. That's too much down. Don't want to trade that. CSCO, Cisco. Nope, under the 200-day simple moving average. Don't want to trade that. Going into earnings too. We can be really picky with the stock market, guys. There's thousands of stocks. Let's focus on the strongest. Under its 200-day simple moving average. That's in a downtrend. That's not what I want to trade. Under its 200-day simple moving average, it's in a downtrend, not something I want to trade. Same thing. All right, let's see how this guy looks. XL. 200, it's above its 200-day. That's in an uptrend. It's past earnings, so I'm not trading into a binary event, up or down. It's not holding any of these moves, which is a little bit concerning. Everything's getting sold off after it pops. For me, especially with how the market's acting, that's kind of giving me a warning signal not to take this. But if we could clear this high, then there's no more resistance up there. But let's see. Pull back to the 8-day. That held. I'll throw this on my watch list, but this will probably be one that I watch to see, does it break out, does it hold? If it does, then okay. The more stocks that I see break out and hold those breakouts, then I get more confident in the market. Then I'll start putting more exposure on. Maybe, I mean, definitely not using leverage or margin right now. I'm only 12% net long invested. But when all the stocks are breaking out and holding their breakouts, that's when I start putting more exposure into the market. And let's wrap it up with TSM. I did have that on my list. I didn't add that. Really good kind of cup and handle right here. I know we did extend over the cup's brim just by a little bit the other day, but sold off on the vaccine news, popped up. So we'll be a little bit picky. We need to get over this previous day's high here of, what is that, 92.50 as the buy point. But you like that it's setting lower lows through here. Never closed under the 20-day, so that's solid. And that's something to watch for. All right, I need to get to studying. I have an actuarial exam next Friday. For anyone who has other stocks that I should watch out, I see some on the stream. I can't get to all these today, guys. But reach out to me on Twitter or StockTwits. I'll use those as a study break to get to those. So thank you for tuning in. Sorry about the delay with YouTube. That was out of my hand. If you're coming from TikTok, I tried to do a live on TikTok. Don't know how that went, but probably reached a different audience there. Maybe expose them to some good risk controls and technical analysis, which was kind of fun. So make sure you subscribe. Give me a like if I deserve it, and I'll see you guys on Friday for the trading recap. Have a great week.